Did you know avoiding others as you age is more common than you think? If you've ever noticed yourself pulling away from people as you've aged, or simply feeling more at peace alone, you're not the only one. In fact, it's far more common than most folks realize. And no, it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It actually makes perfect sense. This video is for anyone over 60 who's been wondering why they just don't crave social interaction like they used to. We're going to explore 6 powerful, yet often overlooked reasons why you may find yourself avoiding people more as you grow older, and why that's not only normal, but in many cases healthy. Whether you've lost the desire to chat on the phone, attend gatherings, or even make small talk with neighbors, there's nothing to be ashamed of. These shifts are deeply human, and understanding them can help you find peace with where you are in life, while also strengthening the connections that truly matter. If you've ever been told you're too quiet lately or not as social as you once were, this is your chance to understand the truth behind that change, without guilt or pressure to go back to who you used to be. And stick with me until the very end, because the last reason might just surprise you and even make you feel proud of the person you've become. Let's get started. Number 1, conversations feel less meaningful. One of the quietest reasons older adults start pulling away from others is that many conversations no longer feel meaningful. As we age, we develop a deeper sense of what matters, and surface-level talk just doesn't satisfy like it used to. Small talk, gossip, or endless chatter about trivial things begins to feel like noise. It's not that we're rude or antisocial. It's that we crave substance, sincerity, and truth. And those things can be hard to find in everyday conversation. In our earlier years, we might have tolerated shallow discussions out of politeness or habit. We chatted about the weather, sports, or TV shows just to keep the conversation going. But over time, we begin to see through all that. We've lived through loss, love, regret, growth, and change. We've gathered stories and lessons that go far, deeper than the latest neighborhood rumor. And when someone talks at length, but says very little of value, we naturally tune out or excuse ourselves altogether. This change catches many people off guard. They wonder why they suddenly feel bored in group conversations, or why a visit with a longtime friend left them feeling empty instead of energized. But when you realize that you've outgrown the type of talk that doesn't speak to your soul, it all starts to make sense. Your inner world has expanded, but the outer conversations haven't kept up. Take Richard, for example. He's 74, and he told me he used to meet his old buddies every Friday at the diner. But after a while, he noticed that every conversation followed the same loop: complaints about politics, jokes at someone's expense, and reruns of stories he'd heard a dozen times. No one ever asked how I was really doing, he said. No one talked about what they were afraid of or grateful for. It was like we were just filling time. Eventually, he stopped going. Not out of anger, but because he wanted his remaining time spent on real connection, not repetition. That's why many older adults start seeking out people who speak with intention, or choosing solitude when that isn't available. A walk in the park or quiet reflection often brings more peace than sitting through another circular conversation. And that's not something to be ashamed of, it's something to honor. It shows that you've reached a point in life where your heart only has room for what's real. So if you find yourself losing interest in conversations you once enjoyed, don't be alarmed. It simply means your spirit is searching for depth, and there's great beauty in that shift. Number 2, increased need for emotional safety. There comes a point in life where peace of mind outweighs the thrill of new connections or social obligations. As we age, emotional safety becomes one of the most prized comforts we seek, and it quietly influences how we navigate relationships. In our younger years, we might have brushed off rude comments, overlooked betrayals, or tolerated gossip just to keep the peace. But now we see more clearly. Time has shown us that not every person is safe to open up to, and not every relationship is worth holding on to. Many older adults begin to pull away from others not because they're angry or bitter, but because they finally realize how much they value feeling emotionally secure. After a lifetime of hurt, disappointment, or simply being misunderstood, there's a deep desire to be around people who truly see us, respect us, and make us feel safe, not judged, not dismissed, not drained. That's not asking for too much. That's asking for what you've earned through years of experience and growth. Emotional safety means being able to speak honestly without fear. It means not having to walk on eggshells or play roles to fit in. For seniors, this becomes even more important as the layers of pretense are shed, and the focus shifts inward toward authenticity, simplicity, and serenity. But unfortunately, not all social environments provide that. So what do many people do? They withdraw, not from love, but from risk. Take Harold, for example. At 72, he realized that every time he spent an evening with his old bowling buddies, he left feeling more judged than uplifted. Their jokes had grown meaner over the years, their comments more dismissive, so he quietly stopped going. Instead, he started volunteering at the local animal shelter, where he found kindness, quiet, and gratitude. He didn't lose his love for people. He just found a better way to feel safe around them. It's also important to note that many older adults carry wounds that never fully healed, moments from the past, when trust was broken or voices were silenced. As we age, those memories don't vanish. Instead, they guide us. They remind us of the importance of surrounding ourselves with those who nurture, not deplete. Choosing fewer people to talk to isn't a retreat. It's a protection of emotional peace, and it's a powerful act of self-respect. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 3, shift in priorities and energy. As we get older, something shifts, not just in our bodies, but in how we see our time, our energy, and what truly matters. We stop chasing after what's loud and start gravitating toward what's meaningful. And one of the biggest reasons older adults begin to avoid social interaction is because they've learned to value their energy and time more than ever before. Simply put, not every gathering, conversation, or connection is worth the emotional cost. In your younger years, you may have gone to every party, taken every phone call, said yes to invitations just to avoid seeming rude or disconnected. But once you hit your 60s or 70s, that urgency fades. You begin to realize that peace of mind, rest, and doing something that fills your soul, like reading a good book, sitting outside with your coffee, or taking a quiet walk, are more fulfilling than any forced conversation could ever be. You've paid your dues in life. Now your time belongs to you. There's a beautiful kind of wisdom that comes with age, the wisdom to say no without guilt, and yes only when it aligns with your heart. And this doesn't mean you've stopped caring about people. It simply means your priorities have shifted inward. You begin to ask, does this bring me peace? Instead of, will they be upset if I don't go? That is not selfish. That's maturity. That's growth. Take a look at someone like Linda. She used to be the life of the party, always organizing family gatherings, always calling her neighbors to chat. But as she entered her late 60s, she started feeling exhausted, not just physically, but mentally. She began noticing how drained she felt after certain visits, not because she disliked anyone, but because the conversations felt shallow, the same stories recycled, and no one really asked how she was doing. So she quietly stepped back. Now she spends more of her days tending her garden, writing in her journal, and talking to a few close friends who truly listen. And you know what? She's never felt more fulfilled. This shift in energy isn't about cutting people out. It's about realignment. At a certain age, you start craving quality over quantity. You become protective of your mental space. And it's okay to turn down a lunch date just to rest your legs, or to skip a family event because you need stillness. That doesn't make you antisocial. It means you're finally listening to what your body and spirit need. So, if you've noticed yourself avoiding social situations more than before, don't beat yourself up for it. Instead, take a moment to appreciate that this shift is actually a sign of self-respect. You're no longer living to please everyone. You're living with intention. Number 4, accumulated emotional disappointment. One of the quietest reasons older adults pull away from social circles is this emotional disappointment that has quietly built up over the years. It's not one big heartbreak that does it. It's the slow drip of letdowns, unmet expectations, and shallow conversations that leave you wondering, what's the point? When you're younger, you often give people the benefit of the doubt. You forgive quickly, hoping things will change. You keep calling, keep showing up, keep smiling, even when it hurts. But as you age, you start to recognize the patterns. You remember who made time for you when you were struggling and who disappeared. You notice who only calls when they need something and who listens without interruption. And slowly, quietly, you begin to step back. This isn't about bitterness. It's about wisdom born from experience. You realize your emotional energy is precious. You no longer want to spend it on relationships that leave you feeling unheard, unseen, or used. You're not trying to be cold. You're just finally honoring the feelings you once ignored. Take someone like George, 75 years old. For decades, he showed up for every friend's birthday, drove people to appointments, helped with home repairs. But when his wife passed, the phone stopped ringing. Days turned into weeks and no one checked in. That changed something in George. He didn't become angry. He became clearer. These days, he doesn't return every call. He doesn't say yes to every favor. He's polite, kind, but distant. Not because he's grumpy, but because he's learned not to chase what doesn't reciprocate. This is a reality many older people experience. After years of giving, you start measuring the return. Not in gifts or favors, but in presence, kindness, effort. And when you find that balance isn't there, you let go. Sometimes without saying a word. You stop expecting an apology or for someone to finally get it. You just choose peace instead. And here's the surprising part. That peace often comes in solitude. Not loneliness, solitude. There's a difference. Loneliness feels empty. Solitude feels full. Full of thought, reflection, gratitude, and yes, even healing. Avoiding people in this context becomes a form of emotional protection. A quiet boundary that says, I matter too. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 5, physical discomfort in social settings. Another subtle but powerful reason older adults begin avoiding people is something few talk about: physical discomfort. As we age, our bodies become more sensitive to noise, temperature, seating, lighting, and even the length of time spent standing or sitting. And while these discomforts may seem minor to others, they can quickly turn a social gathering from pleasant to painful. Think about it: a loud restaurant with hard chairs, bright lights, and crowded tables may have once felt exciting. But now that same environment might trigger a headache, stiff joints, or even dizziness. You start scanning the room for the nearest exit or wondering how long you'll need to endure before it's polite to leave. It's not about being difficult. It's about your body sending a clear message: this isn't comfortable anymore. Many seniors quietly begin saying no to invitations, not because they dislike the people involved, but because the setting itself feels overwhelming. The background noise makes it hard to follow conversations. The chairs have no back support. The room is too warm or too cold. And worst of all, no one seems to notice. That growing discomfort often leads to a deep question: is it worth it? Let's take Marie, age 79. She used to love her weekly bridge game at a friend's house. But over time, the chairs began hurting her hips, and the laughter, once joyful, now rang painfully loud in her ears. She didn't want to complain or seem ungrateful, so she just started saying, maybe next time. Eventually, the invitation stopped, and a sense of quiet relief replaced the guilt. This kind of withdrawal isn't about losing interest in people. It's about acknowledging the changing needs of your body. When you know that certain situations will leave you exhausted, achy, or overstimulated, it's perfectly reasonable to decline. It doesn't mean you're antisocial. It means you're listening to what your body needs now. Unfortunately, others often misinterpret this shift. They might say, you're not as fun as you used to be, or you've changed. But the truth is, every stage of life comes with different limits, and honoring those limits is an act of self-care. It allows you to preserve your well-being rather than sacrifice it for the sake of appearances. So the next time you say no to an event, not because of the people, but because of the noise, the chairs, or the sheer exhaustion it brings, remind yourself you're not missing out. You're choosing wisely. You're protecting the comfort and peace you've earned, and there's real strength in that. Number 6, emotional simplicity becomes a priority. In our younger years, we often felt obligated to maintain a wide circle of connections: friends from childhood, co-workers, neighbors, acquaintances from our kids' schools. We juggled personalities, navigated conflicts, and poured energy into people who didn't always return it. But something remarkable happens after 70. Our emotional landscape simplifies. The need to impress fades. The desire to please everyone weakens. What takes its place is a deep craving for peace. That's why older adults often find themselves slowly stepping away from relationships that once seemed essential. It's not because they've stopped caring, it's because they've started caring more intentionally. They no longer have patience for petty drama, subtle competition, or one-sided friendships. Emotional complexity feels heavy, even exhausting. And when you've spent a lifetime managing other people's emotions, it makes sense to want a break. Let's take Henry, for instance. At 81, he decided to stop attending his weekly poker group, not because he disliked the game, but because every gathering turned into gossip, tension, and veiled jabs. He realized he left those nights feeling worse than he did going in. Now he plays chess quietly with his granddaughter or sits by the lake feeding ducks. That small shift gave him back something he didn't realize he was missing: emotional stillness. As we age, that kind of stillness becomes more precious than stimulation. Our emotional bandwidth narrows, not because we're weak, but because we're wise. We've seen how quickly peace can be shattered by the wrong company, how one toxic comment can steal the joy from an entire day. So we choose more carefully. We keep our circles smaller, but warmer. We speak less, but listen more. And we expect less from others, because we've learned to give ourselves what we once sought from everyone else. What many people don't understand is that this emotional simplicity isn't a withdrawal from life. It's a deepening of it. It's not about avoiding connection. It's about nurturing only those connections that feel safe, kind, and truly mutual. And if that means avoiding a few people along the way, so be it. That's not a loss, it's a form of freedom. So if you've noticed yourself pulling back from certain people, certain places, or certain emotional obligations, don't feel guilty. It's your soul making room for peace. It's your spirit saying, I've had enough noise. Now I want quiet. I want ease. And you've earned the right to honor that. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Final thoughts. You know, as we get older, there's a quiet strength that grows in us, a kind of wisdom that doesn't need to prove itself anymore. And with that wisdom often comes a gentle pull away from the crowd. It's not bitterness. It's not sadness. It's clarity. It's the kind of clarity that comes from living through the noise, the expectations, the responsibilities, and finally realizing what truly matters and what doesn't. If you found yourself choosing peace over parties, solitude over small talk, and authenticity over obligation, that's not a sign that something's wrong with you. It's a sign that you've lived long enough to know what your soul actually needs. For some, that looks like spending more time in nature. For others, it's losing themselves in a favorite book or quietly watching the sunrise with a cup of coffee. These aren't signs of social decline. They're signs of emotional maturity. Think about it. When you were younger, maybe you worried about who was calling, texting, or inviting you out. But now when the phone doesn't ring, you feel relief instead of rejection. That shift didn't happen overnight. It came from learning, sometimes the hard way, that not all connections are worth maintaining and not all relationships are built to last. And that's okay. Letting go of what no longer serves you doesn't make you cold. It makes you wise. In truth, pulling back can be the most loving thing you do for yourself. It gives you space to rest, to reflect, and to rediscover joy in your own company. It frees you from draining interactions and allows you to pour your energy into the people and things that genuinely lift your spirit. So the next time someone wonders why you're not as social as you used to be, just smile. Because you know the answer isn't complicated, it's beautifully simple. You're just choosing yourself. You're choosing peace, authenticity, and meaning over noise, pressure, and performance. And if that's not a sign of growth, I don't know what is. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.